What inspired you to start the AI theatre?
Trying to make something very beautiful out of real people, and that's how I got into the industry per se.
What if this whole world was also AI generated?
जिसके पास सबसे ज्यादा डेटा है उनके AI सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है.
A lot of people are seeing it with skepticism. AI तो creativity खत्म कर देगा.
The idea is not whether it will replace creativity or not. The fundamental is how many new things can we think of when the medium becomes so fluid. Lack of resources is where creativity then comes out from. The one dialogue of yours, one action of yours can make them laugh. One thing that you say can make them think. Then you start to realize the power of storytelling.
Today's guest is Prompt Wala, Priyarth Mukherjee. Priyarth stands at the intersection of technology and storytelling. He is the creator of the AI Theatre, a fast-growing Instagram platform that showcases the power of artificial intelligence in filmmaking, advertising, and creative video storytelling. Through AI Theatre, Priyarth experiments with bold visual narratives, reimagining how stories can be told when imagination meets machine learning. At a time when AI is reshaping industries, Priyarth stands out for making this technology accessible, creative, and entertaining. From AI-generated films and ads to thought-provoking experiments in visual storytelling, his work raises big questions about the future of cinema, creativity, and the role of human imagination in an AI-driven world. Welcome to the show, Priyarth.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your kind words as well. It's
Great,
nice
it's
to listen
great.
to all that.
It's great having you here, Priyarth, especially at a time when AI has totally redefined the visual narrative and the content industry. So let me start with my first question, which is what inspired you to start the AI theatre?
So I have been part of, like, storytelling has been a part of me rather since a long time. My journey started with theater when I was 9-year-old. From there onwards, I started the first realization that I had on those stages for good 5-7 years of my life was that stories can control people, not in the other connotation of it, but when you stand on the stage and when you see that one dialogue of yours or one action of yours can make them laugh, one thing that you say can make them think, then you start to realize the power of storytelling. And even when we talk AI, I think power of storytelling is something that once you are aware of, you will start finding mediums to do that. And that's what happened with me. So I have been a very multi-medium storyteller in general. Like, my career progressed, like, started with theater. By 17, I was making short films. I made around 40-50 short films, which were pretty college kind of films. From there onwards, I moved on to non-fiction industry first. So the first internship I got was with National Geographic to work on a non-fiction show. And non-fiction show is very documentary-like. So you're working with real people altogether. And that was a shift from theater and short films where you are very habituated to actors and making them act. Now you are trying to make something very beautiful out of real people, and that's how I got into the industry per se. From there onwards, television, non-fiction. When I'm saying television, mostly non-fiction television. I went on to also direct couple of audio shows, proper audio dramas for Audible. So that was the sound medium that I was tackling with. From there onwards, I moved on to animation altogether. So Inten Media and Epic TV became my next channels, where I did couple of animation shows for them. So then I'm working with completely generated characters. There's no human involvement, which like, you're habituated to while working with them. So somehow everything was leading up to the moment when AI kind of started up. So I was one of the early adopters. I started in 2022. But again, the idea was to gauge when is it ready. And still, the idea is to gauge when it will be fully ready. So if I tell you from 2022 to 2025 January, AI was at a stage where it was good for pretty visuals, standalone shots, or maybe just an image. but things started to change, and the change was triggered by a couple of them. Google VO2 had initially come, and that changed the game a little because it brought that humanness into the AI characters altogether. So VO2 was the first thing that got me excited, and that's where it was March, I guess. And April we set up AI Theatre because we realized that now it's time that we can start telling stories. If not the complete stories, we can start using this to give the glimpse of the world that we are imagining. And the kind of stories I write, it's very world oriented.
Yeah.
More than the character, I like to think different spaces, places, whether it's prehistoric, historic, whether it is Jurassic era, whether it is modern world into the future. So my core set of skills that I had garnered over the years, plus the kind of stories I wanted to tell, all of them combined into this one medium. And that is why that is when I started to feel that this is not something just for, like, not a fancy thought. It's something very substantial that we can start entering into. And that's how the AI theater started. So we waited for good 2 years to even put the first post out on AI because it was not ready. But then the moment we felt that it is ready now, is when we started to roll out. Initially, we started to roll out teasers. Currently, we are rolling out few music videos. There still are limitations. It has not redefined the industry yet, but I believe in next 1 year, 1.5 year, max to max, it is going to redefine most of the content industry, whether it be films, whether it be advertising, whether it be any other thing that under mass communication that you can think of.
Okay. So, you are also like a prompt wala because some of your initial videos referred to the prompt wala or the person creating the prompt as a god. So, do you think that, a director or a creative storyteller sort of becomes a god for their characters?
Not from now. This is my firm belief since always. Like, I remember someone asked me that, why do you want to make films? It was one of those conversations that you have with people. And I'm like, because I want to feel like God. See, the beauty of film and cinema specifically is that you get to create everything that you want. Like how I start thinking my stories is this is an empty world. It's a sandbox mode. I want to place that tree there. That's why that tree is there. I want to place a house there. That's why a house is there. I want this character to be there. Hence the character is there. Now what happens with the character, good or bad, is under my control. So that is where, so for me, film in itself, any filmmaker for that matter, becomes part God. Because in that particular world, whether it's the physics of the world, whether it's the geography of the world, whether it's the social science of the world, everything and every bit is being controlled by you. The moment you understand that, two things happen. One, the entire feeling of that, that entire film being your own and you owning it is one part of it. Second thing that happens is a lot of responsibility. So especially with Indian cinema, sometimes I feel we lack that responsibility, that if I can pick everything, then why not make everything for the story itself? Why compromise on 15 things just to get couple of faces to talk in certain lines? And that I personally feel AI started to break. Like before AI arrived, it was a good 2-3 years with different channels, with different, like I have been in a room with I think executives of almost everything that you can think of, from Netflix to Epic TV, like it's a range. And in all those meetings, I just felt one thing, that, at the end of the day, that liberty to tell a story. Because when you are thinking like a director, I understand numbers, I understand what people want to watch and everything. But more importantly, you need to have your own voice.
Yes.
And if you cannot have a voice inside an executive chamber, then you cannot have a voice when you make it and take it out. And that kind of, sometimes as creators, it starts to frustrate you. And that's where I was like, if I get a chance to produce something the way I want, I am ready to make those smaller compromises on other finer things to get an opportunity to tell that story.
Right.
And that's why AI started to make so much sense. Because I'll tell you a very simple example of how it changed for me. Like there is a story of mine, and you can find it on our page, called Octagon. Suppose now Octagon is supposed to be this futuristic city which is completely governed by AI. In fact, to the last note of it, like it's a first technocratic city of the world. So it is technocracy. There is no human involvement in the governance of that city.
Oh.
Now the thing is, like the problem I started to face was when I met the producers and started to explain them. The first thing an Indian producer asks you is, what is the reference point? What is it like? The moment you say कि okay, Apple पे एक silo आ रहा है, which is similar, it's a vertical city. It's like, you know, a huge building where the entire crowd is, the air outside is toxic. Now the imagery that it creates in their head is silo altogether, because the brain runs, where do I attach this to? Now what it changed for me was, using AI I could show that it's not a dystopian world, it's an utopian world. Why does future have to be dystopian altogether? Always, like it's not that everything will get over. It's going to advance. Yeah. So the thing is कि yeah, the climate might get harsher, but at the same time the technology will aid you to create spaces which are much more futuristic, much more like, you know, utilitarian for the people living there, where everything is actually in their command. It's not that the world is falling and where do I go. So now when I made that trailer and showed it to the producers again, the entire perspective changes. So then AI gives me the ability to project the world the way it is in my head, instead of realizing relying upon someone else's imagination.
Right.
And with all due respect, sometimes the imaginations don't match. It's not that the person in front of you does not have that imagination, but after listening to 20 stories, when the 21st one comes, you cannot really imagine in the way that I would like to imagine, because I have spent 6 months on it.
Right.
So there is no complaint as such, but there was no other way to show people what is there inside your mind. So what AI did for me was, and that's the first thing we tried to do. You mentioned prompt wala, and I'll come to that. The first thing we did was, I had 10 slates like in my story bank. So we started to convert those 10 slates into trailers, because AI was at a stage where montages was possible. So a voiceover with a good montage, or music and some good montage, actually made a lot of sense. So that's how we started. Our idea was simple, that let's at least give some shape to our stories, some visuals to our stories. And then basically there was a break-in with VO3, the first model that could actually kind of make the characters speak. It was not just lip sync, it was body expressions. You can prompt to a level that whether he twitches or whether he sits or whether he stands, and he can deliver something expressive. So currently also how I talk to my team is, we have not learned AI yet, because it has not come out in the market yet. You can learn few things out of it, but just keep track of it is what we require. So prompt wala happened as part of keeping that track.
कि 8 सेकेंड के वीडियोस जनरेट कर सकते हैं, सो यू हैव अ कनेक्टिंग थ्रेड जो कि सबको कनेक्ट करे.
Exactly. So the first video that we made was coming from a point of view that let's just showcase the power of VO3 right now, like what it can do right now. So again, it was it is basically 5 different setups where 5 people come and talk. But it is also a very good form of advertising. Montage ads were always a thing where different people are talking about the same thing. So the reason why I said that all the different mediums I have worked with, it helps is because then you know what to do with it. It's not just 8 seconds that you have to create. If I can create 8 different clips and I can make a story out of it, if I can tie a story out of it, that would be a good thing to do with what we have right now. And that's how the first video went out. At that point, VO was not easily available. So we were using VPNs and stuff like that. And that happened because we were like on top of it. Like what is coming today? What is coming today? Staying updated, as simple as that. No special science there. So we could get some access. We could make a video. And eventually that personal desire of being the god, I think, just spilled over into that. And that's how the topics also, the 5 topics are street food, something which is very viral, something that people keep watching. So hence the hook became the street food, because the moment something is being fried, an audience gets stuck for that first 3 seconds that you need. So that's how the hook came into place. Then we tried that let's mix it all ages, because it cannot be, hence the aunties coming out and giving ashirwad in name of prompt wala. You have everything, and then eventually the ending blow was, and which actually kind of got us the most traction, कि भाई AI theater वाला भी बहुत गरीब है. Now that is something that resonates with everyone.
रोज मेरे वहाँ गोलगप्पे पकोड़े खाने आते हैं, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So the idea was that what connects people. I mean, no matter how much money you have or not, you always have that thing, यार हम लोग कितने गरीब हैं, and that is a very common emotion, not to shy away from, because you always aspire for something above you. So at every point you will feel lack of resources. Now I'll just segue this into a small philosophy of mine. Lack of resources is where creativity then comes out from. The moment you start having those ambitions and you start feeling you don't have resources, then you start to think, what can I do with the resources that I have? And the moment you start to focus on that, it makes sense. And why is it important with AI is because that's what exactly people need to understand right now. Half the time the comments we get is कि this is यहाँ पे ये real नहीं लग रहा है, यहाँ पे AI लग रहा है. Fair enough. I'm not saying कि it's not. But the idea is, what can you do to the best of your ability with the limitations and the opportunities you have? And anyone with that kind of mindset will make the most of the AI, because this will evolve. This will keep evolving for next 1-2 years. It's not going to stop suddenly, that the evolution stops. Newer models don't come. Everything will start coming. Are you ready for it? Are you getting ready for it? Is where the question right now in the AI world lies.
Right. Interesting. What is the most unexpected AI outcome? If you remember, I know कि रोज ही कोई prompt डालने पे कुछ unexpected मिलता होगा, but कुछ बहुत unexpected, interesting, surprising या shocking result आया हो from a prompt that you fed into AI?
The very first thing that we made, it was called Akhra. So it was a live action movie we were planning back home in Jharkhand, which is my hometown. And I was just fiddling around, and that is when I started to try it. The first trailer, I was surprised at that particular moment. But that surprise also came with the realization that further from here onwards, there is no surprises.
So अखरा में ऐसा क्या हुआ कि आप surprised?
So basically there were 2-3 things जो पहले AI नहीं कर पा रहा था. So 2022 mid journey is where my journey started, and I kind of made couple of products with mid journey, which was pitch like products, which were things like that. What changed in Akhra was the humanness of the generations altogether. So if you watch that trailer, there are small breathings. There is that hovering of the leg over the fire, the skin texture. So I wanted the characters to look from Jharkhand altogether. Now those were the things that evolved in around 1.5 years, because Midjourney initially could not generate any sort of Indian characters. They had very specific, where either you will get very Asian faces or you will get very Caucasian faces, but you did not have Indian faces altogether. And that kind of started to change earlier this year, later last year of sorts, where Indian faces. So even in the AI world, when you're working with LLMs and everything, whether it's ChatGPT or everything, there is a process of debiasing the AI, which kind of opens up, because most of the training is done on a particular set of images and everything. And that's where Google actually has the biggest reserve of images. And that's why Google generates as realistic images as possible, because it's by default debiased altogether. Whereas other models need a debiasing process where they can incorporate multiple cultures into it. So in many ways, that was my first point of surprise, that okay, fine, now we can go ahead. So Akhra happened before AI theater happened. So Akhra kind of became the cornerstone, because that was the point when I know now anything and everything is possible. Either you need to find a way to do it, or you need to wait for something to come in the future that will enable it. But now you can think freely, because even though people might say that this is something which is not as good as what an actor can do, what a performer can do, I agree with them.
There.
But the point is that it will get there. It's not even about getting there. It will get there. So what do you do with that then? Then suddenly one night I can't wake up and say, okay, now let me change the way I think. That will again be a process of 7-8 months.
Correct.
So that is where we that was the most surprising thing. At the same time, that was the most encouraging thing also.
You used a very interesting term, debiasing. तो can you explain this? हिंदी में debiasing क्या होता है? थोड़ा सा हम बात करें.
डिबायस ऐसा है कि कोई भी एआई है वो एक पर्टिकुलर डेटा सेट पे ट्रेन होता है, और वो डेटा सेट अगर एक छोटी सी भी बात है कि मैं किसी को बोलता हूँ अरे यार चल ना, अरे यार चल, वो हमारे कोलोकियल का इतना ज़्यादा पार्ट है कि अगर मैं आज जीपीटी से एक डायलॉग लिखवाना चाहूँ कि तू एक दो दोस्तों के बीच में बात हो रही है और तू मेरे को 2 डायलॉग लिख के दे, द थिंग इज कि राइटिंग में अभी वो अरे यार चल लिख ही नहीं सकता है, क्योंकि उसके जो ट्रेनिंग मॉडल है उसमें वो छोटे कोलोकियल हिंट्स जो होते हैं वो कभी हैं ही नहीं. दैट्स नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ इट. सो डीबायसिंग क्या होता है कि अगर चाइना का मॉडल है, लेट्स मतलब अगर बहुत नोन को मैं हटा भी दूँ, चाइना का मॉडल है डीप सीक इज देयर मॉडल. अभी उनका क्या है कि वो जो कुछ भी ट्रेनिंग है, वेदर इट इज़ लोग कैसे बात करते हैं, कौन से स्लैंग्स यूज़ करते हैं, और जनरली कोलोकियल बिकम्स वो जो छोटे आप वर्ड्स यूज़ करते हो उसी से आप समझ आता है कि वो हरियाणवी कौन सा है, बिहारी कौन सा है, महाराष्ट्रियन कौन सा है, गुजराती कौन सा है. आप उन्हीं छोटे चीज़ों से पकड़ते हो.
Correct.
तो ये डीबायसिंग का प्रोसेस होता है जहाँ पे फिर मैं रीजन बाय रीजन भी अपने एआई को फिर मैं उस वो जब मॉडल हो जाता है तब फिर मैं वो इनपुट्स देना शुरू करता हूँ. ये डीबायसिंग का प्रोसेस होता है.
एंड गूगल ने डीबायसिंग काफी अच्छी करी है
बहुत ज़्यादा. तो गूगल एक्चुअली सबसे स्लो था अपने मॉडल्स को लाने में, मगर जब वो लेकर के आया तो द मॉडल्स वो पूरे के पूरे डीबायस थे. तो अगर मैं इंडिया में बैठ के यूज़ कर रहा हूँ और मुझे इंडिया से रिलेटेड चीज़ें उस एआई पे चाहिए तो वो मेरे लिए बहुत ही रेडिली अवेलेबल है. और उसका रीज़न है कि गूगल इस बिजनेस में हमेशा से था. मुझे याद है मैं जब कॉलेज फर्स्ट सेकेंड ईयर में था, मैं मास कम्युनिकेशन चला गया था. वन ऑफ माई बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स ही हैड गॉन टू इंजीनियरिंग. तो उसने मुझे बोला पता है तू जब वो आर यू रोबोट भरता है और वो पिक्चर सेलेक्ट करता है तो क्या हो रहा है. मैं बोला क्या हो रहा है, मतलब वो तो नॉर्मल चेक है. मतलब नॉर्मल चेक नहीं, वो डेटा कलेक्शन है. वो उसी समय से कि किस चीज़ को लोग ब्लर में भी देख के पहचान पा रहे हैं, नहीं पा रहे हैं. सो वो जो उसका एआई ट्रेनिंग था वो हम बहुत पहले से करवा रहे हैं उनके साथ. सो बिकॉज इट इज़ द मोस्ट यूज प्लेटफॉर्म, गूगल हैज़ द मोस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ डेटा. जिसके पास सबसे ज़्यादा डेटा है उनके एआई सबसे ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है. क्योंकि एट एंड ऑफ द डे दैट इज़ द फीड ऑफ एआई. आप उसको वही खिलाते हो.
वो पावर प्ले कभी भी चेंज हो सकता है विद ओपन एआई या नहीं, वी डोंट नो.
अब हो सकता है. रीज़न बीइंग कि फिर एक समय आया जब लोगों ने सिर्फ ओपन एआई सेलेक्ट किया. तो आप हमेशा जब जीपीटी यूज़ करोगे तो यू विल हैव अ रिस्पॉन्स बटन कि अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स था या बुरा रिस्पॉन्स था. वो जो आप कर रहे हो अगेन इट्स पार्ट ऑफ
कंसीडरिंग अब सर्च इन इटसेल्फ लोग काफी बार चैट जीपीटी यूज करके कर रहे हैं.
इवन जब आप उसको करेक्ट कर रहे हो कि ये नहीं ऐसे नहीं, मुझे ऐसे चाहिए, तो इट इज लर्निंग एंड दैट इज वेयर इट इज गोइंग आउट ऑफ हैंड्स ऑफ एवरीवन हु हैज क्रिएटेड इट. क्योंकि वो अब कहाँ से क्या सीख रहा है ये कंट्रोल में बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है. बिकॉज एल्गोरिदम एक्चुअली उसको प्रोवाइड कर रहा है डेटा एंड हाउ इट इज इंटरैक्टिंग विद द डेटा. वो अभी तक वो समझना इवन फॉर द एक्सपर्ट्स इट्स थोड़ा सा टफ. ये बिल्कुल वैसे ही है कि मैं एक अपने बहुत अच्छा फ्रेंड है मेरा, मैं उसको जानता हूँ, मैं सब कुछ जानता हूँ, और उसको मैं उठा करके एक बहुत ही अगर मैंने उसको एक बहुत ही रैंडम जगह जहाँ उसको कोई कंसिक्वेंस नहीं है उसके आसपास और मैंने वहाँ उसको प्लेस कर दिया, वो एग्जैक्टली कैसे बिहेव करेगा मुझे नहीं पता. मैं उसको जानता हूँ, मुझे आइडिया है, बट वो शायद किसी से मिलके उसको प्यार हो जाए, किसी से मिलके उसे गुस्सा आ जाए, वो मेरे कंट्रोल में नहीं है. सो ये उसी तरह से है कि जब ये डेटा सेट बाहर आ रहा है और जब लोग उससे इंटरैक्ट कर रहे हैं तो एआई उस डेटा को कैसे इंटरप्रेट कर रहा है और किस तरह से वो उसको मतलब वो हाउ इज इट लर्निंग फर्दर. ये वाला प्रोसेस अभी भी ऐसा है जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा हम लोग वी आर ट्रस्टिंग एआई इन मेनी वेज एंड दैट इज वेयर मोस्ट ऑफ द कंसर्न्स आर आल्सो कमिंग. अगर एआई रिलेटेड कॉन्स्पिरेसी थ्योरीज आप पढ़ोगे तो बहुत मजा आएगा because most of the concerns are coming from that point. Right, that do you know what you are building altogether?
Correct. बट काफ़ी लोगों को a lot of people are seeing it with skepticism. बहुत लोगों को डर लगता है कि AI तो क्रिएटिविटी ख़त्म कर देगा बिकॉज लोग सोचना भूल जा रहे हैं. एक एंड ऑफ स्पेक्ट्रम पे ऐसे लोग हैं, वहीं दूसरे एंड ऑफ स्पेक्ट्रम पे लोग कह रहे हैं कि AI क्रिएटिविटी एनहांस करेगा बिकॉज नाउ टेक गेट्स डेमोक्रेटाइज्ड और आज एक कोई झारखंड में भी जैसे बैठ के एक काफ़ी अच्छा वीडियो बना सकता है जिसको पहले में भी इट वुड हैव रिक्वायर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ बजट और बहुत बड़ा चौड़ा सेट एक्टर्स सब कुछ चाहिए होता, बट आज कोई भी ये कहीं से भी बैठ के कर सकता है, तो इट विल एनहांस क्रिएटिविटी. तो ये दोनों ही ओपिनियंस है. वेयर डू यू स्टैंड इन दिस स्पेक्ट्रम?
एक्चुअली दोनों साइड नहीं, बिकॉज ये नया मीडियम है. इसको पहले तो हमें वो समझना पड़ेगा. देर आर टू थिंग्स अराउंड दिस. फर्स्ट इज समथिंग दैट जो मेरे को फिल्म स्कूल में मेरे एक टीचर ने बोला था. फिल्म स्कूल ने उस समय में एक्चुअली आई वॉज अंडर ग्रेजुएट ओनली, बट देयर वाज अ गेस्ट लेक्चरर जो FTI से आए थे. उन्होंने हमसे बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि सिनेमा ही क्यों टॉप ऑफ द फूड चेन में है व्हेन इट कम्स टू मास कम्युनिकेशन. व्हाट मेक्स सिनेमा ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द फूड चेन? And there were multiple answers, and especially for people who were more passionate about it in our class, it was like हमें feel कराता है, and there can be multiple answers, but the answer that he gave made the most sense to me. He was like, cinema is the only medium that actually covers all the other mediums. उसके अंदर रेडियो भी है, उसके अंदर न्यूज़ भी है, उसके अंदर एवरी अदर मीडियम दैट यू कैन थिंक ऑफ, उन सब का एक समरी सिनेमा आपको एट एंड ऑफ द डे देता है. That's why it sits on top of the food chain. So first of all, I think cinema से ऊपर अभी कुछ है. That is the AI making altogether. I'm not saying it changes the rules of the cinema, but it is something that can actually break the fourth wall in cinema itself, because interactivity, the future of it can go to anywhere, to the possibility जब आप एक सिनेमा के अंदर वॉक कर सकते हो and you can immerse in yourself inside it. The possibilities are कि story telling आपके तरीके से change हो सकती है. So if I make a film and Bhavna watches it and someone else watches it, उनके नीड के अकॉर्डिंग जिस कैरेक्टर को वो प्रायोरिटी देना चाहते हैं, वो रिलेट करना चाहते हैं, वो शायद मैं कर सकता हूँ. वी विल हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि AI सिर्फ मीडियम में नहीं कन्वर्ट होगा. इट विल इवन कन्वर्ट इनटू स्पेसेस ऑफ मेडिकल साइंस एंड अदर थिंग्स, जहाँ पर वो शायद हमारे थॉट प्रोसेस और कॉन्शियसनेस का पार्ट बने. probably 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, you never know that it is something that helps you see the world in a particular way. And I'm very sure कि वो टेक उसी स्पीड से मूव कर रहा है, that it's not very difficult. तो जब आप ये समझना शुरू करते हो कि आप स्टोरी टेलिंग को कितने और नए तरीके से इंटरप्रेट कर सकते हो देन जस्ट अ स्क्रीन, तब आपको समझ में आएगा कि इट्स नॉट एक्चुअली अ कॉम्पिटिशन ऑफ क्रिएटिविटी. इसका अगर मैं अब छोटा एग्जाम्पल आपको दूं तो a painter will always think a photographer's job is easier. जब आप पूरा का पूरा for centuries we just sat in front of landscapes and painted it for days and then came camera. And I'm very sure the artist then would be like, यार ये तो कोई भी काम नहीं है ना. What skill do you have? You stand in front of something and you press a button. What skill do you have? But this is a debate which I don't think is important. Because this has arrived and this will change. मेरे नहीं मानने से कि ये क्रिएटिविटी ख़त्म कर रहा है, AI कल को रिट्रैक्ट नहीं कर लेगा खुद को that now this technology does not exist. So that is where I feel the fundamental of the debate is wrong. The idea is not whether it will replace creativity or not. The fundamental is how many new things can we think of when the medium becomes so fluid. Altogether, and the medium might just come up to your glasses. Now meta glasses is not something far in the future, no, it's part of it. You're part of it. So can a story be that मैं मुंबई के हर कॉर्नर को एक स्टोरी में कन्वर्ट कर दूंगा? यू गो टू माहिम, उस गली में एक स्टोरी. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग द पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ हाउ यू कैन थ्रो योर माइंड इनटू मल्टीपल डायरेक्शन टू स्टार्ट ड्रीमिंग. सो व्हेन यू स्टार्ट डूइंग दैट यू डू नॉट सी अ थ्रेट ऑन योर क्रिएटिविटी. बिकॉज यू आर यूजिंग द न्यू मीडियम एंड इसके नए रूल्स बनेंगे, इसके नए लॉज बनेंगे, इसका मेट्रिक नया बनेगा. इवन द थिंग दैट यू सेड दैट anyone at any corner will be able to create great visuals without any production cost. True. So when everyone does that, what becomes the best? What becomes the most talked about? We will come down to the core skills required. Is the story flowing? Did it capture your imagination? Did you sit in front of the screen and did not feel like moving? When you switched off the TV, did you feel something inside? So the core of a storyteller can't be taken away. If you know what you have to do with it, definitely. And I personally, if just coming to very strictly to the ambit of the question you asked, I still feel it will enhance creativity, because then a lot of people who did not have the chance, and I'll include myself in that, that even being part of the industry, I never felt a part of it. Reason being, somewhere I always felt that kind of ceiling, whether it's a budgetary ceiling, whether it's an ideation ceiling, there always was a ceiling. The 10 slates of mine that I talked about, in my head it was sure that it is 40 years of my life to make these 10 films come shows, because it takes time.
Yeah.
Now I can imagine that I'll be finishing that 10 ka slate in next 10 years, and maybe some new stories to say. So for sure, if you're aware of what you're doing, if you know what you are doing, if you're a costume designer, suppose, which might suddenly feel कि यार costume designer का job चला जाएगा. No, whenever a full-fledged AI production will take place, a costume designer will be required. It's just that instead of sketching, she will be generating.
Right.
Instead of having a prototype, it will
just
be
be another
closer
tool
to
for them.
another tool for them. So the department, so the first thing we did was make all the filmmaking department ka list and see which will be replaced by AI, which will be AI assisted. So even writing, for that matter, currently on our board, it is AI assisted. I have not found one script on AI which I have
Which can
thought
be
that
used
it is
directly.
perfect.
Correct.
Until unless I'm doing very one-liners, two-liners, it helps.
Correct.
But the idea is still today is I write my own stories, then I take it to AI.
Right.
Then I ask
You
it to
can
enhance.
enhance.
Sometimes I use that enhancement, sometimes I don't. But it does foolproof basics like grammars, commas, full stops, which hygiene is something that I always go to AI for, because it will always have a better hygiene in
Correct.
writing than I have.
Correct.
So
But the
yeah.
imagination and the original thought, it's always good to have a human do that.
That is what the entire world will be about. If you ask me, the biggest thing that you can do to yourself is nourish your brain in a way. आप इतना ज़्यादा उसके अंदर तरीके भर लो, इतने ज़्यादा स्टोरीज सुनो, समझो, उसके फंडामेंटल्स को समझो, कि कल को जब आप उस चीज़ को एक्सप्रेस कर रहे हो, तो वो आइडिया यूनिक है, बिकॉज यूनिकनेस विल बी प्राइज्ड वेरी हाई.
Correct.
In a world where everything looks similar,
Absolutely.
finding uniqueness is where the entire game will be at.
Yes, yes.
So अगर आपको आज लग रहा है कि ये मेरा काम बहुत आसानी से हो रहा है और कल को मुझे मतलब होता है ना इतने में चल जाएगा मेरा काम, you are wrong.
You're wrong.
You are very wrong, because ये काम चलाने वाली बात नहीं है. ये when it will come on your head, it will be about कि यार तूने उतने दिन क्या किया 8 महीने when
So
everyone was
everyone will
learning.
have to be far better than they are now.
By default, yes.
By default, yes. Yeah.
By default, you will become. So suppose I'll give you a very simple example. You like to write, okay? You can write good verses, for that matter. But then how do you showcase that verse? That's there in your diary somewhere. Now there is a chance that you can quickly convert it, even with your busy schedule, and put it out.
Yeah.
So the reason for AI theater was also that at the end of the day, personal branding, people know who is talking. So there is this very beautiful discussion in the art world that does it matter who created the art? And it's a very good discussion that it's actually a play, I guess, which was two characters who were discussing the concept, and there was a lady and there was a man, and the man was like, a good painting is a good painting. How does it matter
Doesn't matter
who made it?
created.
And her point was that if I say I love you to you, and your wife says I love you to you, and another man says I love you to you, there's a difference altogether. So it does matter who has created that art, because then you know that this particular piece of art is attached to part of a philosophy,
particular
theory
story.
of that particular person.
Right.
So if that impresses you, the art has value. If that does not impress you, there is no dearth of good paintings in the world, but you know the 10, because the man doing that painting was special at the end of the day, or the woman doing that particular art piece was special altogether. So eventually that is where you need to start focusing on. What AI has done is given you 20 assistants, for which you would have been paying an overhead and a rent cost, which you don't have to pay.
Right.
So once you realize that, then suddenly everything starts to seem कि अच्छा, now I have a lot of space to work. I have a lot of ideas to go ahead with, and that actually is very explosive if you ask me particularly.
Correct. Now, going into a very philosophical or cosmic discussion from here, ये ऐसे thought आया कभी कि what if this whole world was also AI generated? यहाँ पे भी sometimes there are people with special abilities. कभी कभी हम बोलते हैं कि भगवान ने ऐसा क्यों किया? What if it was like a prompt वाला जिसने कि कुछ prompt डाला था but वो सही नहीं निकला, तो दुनिया में थोड़ी सी गड़बड़ियाँ भी होती रहती है, wars हो रहे हैं, जो भी हो रहे हैं. But what if this is like on a massive level also, जिसको हम human intelligence भी बोल रहे हैं, what if all of this is artificial intelligence?
It's a very pretty controversy theory to delve into, and it makes for very good discussions eventually. However, if you ask me, definitely there is a code of universe. There is a sort of like a coding that we all are following, and if you look at history, you will see that the cycles never change. No matter how educated you are, you will commit the same mistakes. No matter how much you feel you have read history, you will allow that cycle to go on. Like even war cycle अगर आप देखोगे तो after the World War, the entire world felt peace is important. A lot of peace leaders, from Mahatma Gandhi to Nelson Mandela to there was an era of peace where anyone who was propagating peace were the hero. Then people got bored of peace, and then they started to move towards a more aggressive world where anyone who is powerful starts to become the hero again. And ये cycle आज का नहीं है, ये हमेशा का है. So we are in a sinusoidal curve in everything in our life.
So there are patterns.
So definitely there are patterns. If you start to decode, I mean something as simple as, and you come from communication background, you know that when you talk about 16 personalities, if a 16 personalities is where the world is at, then we are actually just looking at the permutation combination of those 16 personalities altogether. So once you start this, it becomes easier to decode human emotion, because all in all, like we to call navrasas, but all in all there are 35 emotions in the world. So no matter we are 8 billion or we are 12 billion, emotions are 35, personalities are 16, and roughly you see it around you. It's not something which is you have to go far away to notice or observe. So if you ask philosophically, if someone has written the prompt, probably they have created a very self-running engine altogether, which functions on its own, it creates on its own, and it destroys on its own. So that's it's very self-reliant. I don't think it's possible for anyone to sit and govern your life, but definitely there is a code to the universe where the creation and destruction is part of the entire cycle of Earth.
Interesting. Chalo, coming back to our universe. So you've showcased, different ads and shots where, sometimes they look eerily natural. So do you think abhi bahut sare brands will, and already brands are sort of hopping onto this trend and getting into the AI bandwagon. तो अभी क्या लगता है कि shooting altogether भी बंद होगी कभी, या फिर नहीं, shooting will have its own place and this will have its own place, just one more river being created?
So it will have its own space. Whenever this is something that we discuss, I always take name of Christopher Nolan. Now he never used VFX. The entire industry shifted to it, but he stayed with what he wanted to do. And I'm very sure there will be filmmakers who will stick to what they do. In fact, I would still like to do offline films. I'm not saying that when I'm working on AI, I don't want to tell story on any other particular medium. So it will be its own stream. But when it comes to advertising specifically, when it comes to marketing specifically, that's where I think the shootings will start stopping. Films are far from this. See, films come under performance when it comes to the different mediums. Musician. Music can be replaced by AI. Music can be created by AI. But a musician who's standing on stage commanding 100,000 people ka crowd, that's not something that AI is going to do. Right. Similarly, in filmmaking, it's so actor and personality based that yes, AI filmmaking will be a thing, a full-fledged thing in the future when we are doing those 60-70 minute films on that. But at end of the day, the human performance will still be a very integral part of cinema. So this is a very current thing, and I'll come to advertising also. In very current thing, I had divided thing into three kind of stories. For me, on my board, there are three kind of stories. One is world-based stories altogether. Now, world-based stories, I personally feel AI can take over. Lord of the Rings can be done on AI. If just to give you an example, because the world is so fascinating that who talks what there does not matter. Then you have very character-based stories. Now that is where I feel the contrast is. When the world is not grand and it's a story inside a room, I feel humans have a much upper hand altogether in that, because again the same philosophy. It's not just about the actor acting out the lines. It's also about the actor whom you have seen and known, and he acts in a certain way.
Correct.
I mean, not a huge fan, but the reason why Salman Khan's movie will do a good blockbuster is also because how he is in real life, and not only because how he's acting. Because if acting was a parameter, it would not do the blockbuster numbers that it does. But people know him, and that's why they want to see him in certain roles. So those are the
But there is a shift happening, considering, which is why a lot of new age actors got a chance to deliver such blockbuster films, because people are now valuing the craft more than the person.
That is a social shift. But if I change the industry and talk about Robert Downey Jr., suppose, the same applies still. The social shift is influenced by multiple things.
Yeah.
There's politics involved in it. There is some sort of individual frustrations, the kind of the way society is progressing. So a social shift is very good for our industry particularly. That we are not going after star names altogether. But in one way or the other, if you look at it, it has not changed. You still would want to see a Taimur on screen and will be very happy about liking it or sharing it. So the fascination towards celebrities,
People want to have that fandom going.
Exactly. So that is a social shift altogether. But what I'm talking about is where AI won't be able to compete immediately altogether. However, ad world does not operate just on faces. Like still there will be a brand ambassador, but a major chunk of advertising is done by actors that are fresh faces as per to say. Like there will be a trend. When the Airtel girl came, it was a trend that you want a similar looking girl. So a lot of ads had very similar looking girls altogether. Then there came a phase of a very body positivity or very unique kind of face that you are looking for. And you will see that the ad world kind of shifted towards it. So ad world works on trends. And the future trends are going to be dependent on AI. So the moment you start to relate all these things, and another thing, AI has a capacity to hold the audience for 2 to 3 minutes. With the current capacity, it will increase eventually. So very rapidly you will see a change and shift in advertising immediately, because AI is capable to deliver a 40-second film or a 30-second film, delivering the message you want to deliver in an interesting setup. In fact, a setup that you can't imagine to create. So the first brand that came to us was called VT Special. It was a whiskey, regional whiskey brand that had come to us, and thankfully they had said, do whatever you want. And we did a alien invasion story where aliens have invaded and they wanted something from Earth, and it was VT whiskey at the end of the day. Now what it does is it places your ad into such absurd space that people tend to talk about it. And that absurdity is going to come back. So if you relate this to there was the entire bourgeoisie clan in Europe when the Renaissance was happening, and everything was pitch perfect and everything was crazily framed. Everything used to look that the aesthetic altogether. And then came the Dali and the Buñuels all together, and they were like, we are going to do something so surrealistic that there is a watch melting and a person standing and screaming, and they did that. So they used to conduct these stage shows where they will call the elites of the society, and they used to do random stuff on the floor altogether, just to diss them. And when I look at the current world, everything is slowly starting to get so polished that you are looking for those absurd moments where
even in terms of content, they're saying that raw content does much better on Instagram.
Than something
somebody
which is very
just
well
standing
produced.
with a phone will do much better than somebody who's like totally edited a certain
Exactly,
video.
because people, when someone sees something very well edited, then the desire is like, यार ये तो मैं नहीं कर सकता. When you see something, there's this ambition attached to it. अच्छा, I can also do this. That is a very subconscious level पे वो एक आप उसके साथ चीज़ों को attach करते हो. But again, in polished also, if you look at the last few years and the top ad campaign that I place on the top was Cred. And Cred, what they did was they broke the patterns. They kind of brought something so absurd that, like, someone like a Ravi Shastri coming and telling something to you in a very different environment. In a bar, you don't expect Ravi Shastri dancing and giving you an ad film.
So that surprise element has always been a part of ads, which is what AI can now help achieve.
So now AI can help you achieve further more absurd things.
Correct.
I can have a Jupiter ka diamonds raining and Tanishq ka jewelry on advertised on Jupiter ka ya Saturn ka diamond rain. I will use it if I want.
Correct.
So what happens is, first, you can take more risks. Turnaround time is less, budget is less. So half the good ideas die because people did believe in it, but didn't believe enough to put that kind of money behind it or time behind it. So now the process of making something and quickly seeing whether it is working or not, testings will increase. When I'm saying testing, a brand might just make 10 videos instead of one, see which one is performing better, put that up as their central campaign altogether. So that number and volume in the ad world is going to erupt. And the moment brand starts to understand that they don't have to think in the traditional way, the traditional way being that 3 film का set हम बना रहे हैं जिसमें ये central theme है, and when they start opening it up कि we need 15 videos in a campaign, and out of 15 the top 5 performers are going here, top 1 performer, 2 performers going there. So the way you think and conceptualize and
the entire
create
brand
themes
strategy
around that will change. And that is where we are also pushing, at least our clients for that matter, that don't think in the limits of what can be done with the camera.
Correct.
And don't think with the limits कि यार ये मेरे को पहले 10 लाख लग रहा था या 20 लाख लग रहा था या 30 लाख लग रहा था to make 3 ads. Now we can do it in like 80% discount. That is not the idea. You still spend that much. But make more number of campaigns in it. So if you are doing your Diwali campaign, what's stopping you to making 15 Diwali videos for 15 different regions? So you have something for Bihar, you have something for Delhi, you have something for Mumbai. What's stopping you from doing that? So it will help the brands go very hyper local, which people are demanding. People want that hyper local flavor. उसमें भी आप कानपुर का हिंदी बोल रहे हो या आप गोरखपुर का हिंदी बोल रहे हो, they want that difference to come to their doorstep. When that's possible now, why will you shy away from that? So why are you sticking to the 3 ad model? Why not a 15 ad model?
Correct.
So that is where the shift will start, and I think in advertising that shift has already started. Like the undercurrent is way too strong.
Right. Okay, so hypothetically and hopefully manifesting it, if Netflix tomorrow asked you to run an AI-only production and gave you free reins to conceptualize a story, is there a particular theme or story that you'd like to pursue?
Definitely. So the thing is, as I said, it's been my life altogether. So all the set of my stories, now I'm actually bringing them out. Like for example, Karoti is one of my biggest projects. That story, there are 18 stories within that story when the story begins. So it is a very massive project. Now initially in my head, I had parked it that the moment I do my certain budget ka film is when I'll touch it also, because what's the use now? But now it is possible. However, when you just mention Netflix specifically, there's another thing I foresee, and that is where I foresee places like AI Theatre, and not only us. There are certain very good AI producers right now which are kind of bubbling up. What I also see is that the networks will start getting replaced. Now, the superpower that all the networks held, viewership is one. And the second thing that they held very dearly was the capacity to produce 20 slates a year. That's what differentiated between a production house and a channel. A channel never produces their own stuff, because if they start doing that, the content slates will be limited. Now the thing is, a a particular place, especially like AI theaters, suppose tomorrow I generate, and that is the dream I would like to see. If we generate a viewership of or a followership of 10 million or 20 million for that matter, why not use that viewership, which one thing that the network was giving you, you already have generated that. And then the frequency of the content, which was the biggest problem as a production house, it was not feasible to do that. When the commissioning part of it goes off and the budget actually takes a sideline, what's stopping you to create those 20
So you're
content
saying
for
you
your
would
page?
like to become Netflix instead of working for Netflix?
I mean,
is it?
each story, like for a story like Karoti can be its own platform for me. Like when I'm saying Karoti, I know I have not given you context, but
Yes.
that's a huge that was a world I kind of painted. It's a map. It's in shape of a skull. Karoti in Sanskrit means skull, so it's everything in my head basically was
Oh,
dumped onto
wow.
that one land, which has historic se leke sci-fi se leke, the world is created in a way that everything kind of has its own identity and a
Karoti
story.
is a metaverse that you
Yeah,
created in
yes.
the
So
shape
that
of a
was
skull.
created in 2022 before AI had arrived. So the journey I had for it in mind was very different. But today I can sit here and kind of believe that 5 years down the line, I'll have a space where only Karoti stories are running. So when you are creating world-based stories, and that's where I'm saying that the moment we think that the creativity is going to go down, I feel the opposite. I feel that we will be able to push new formats of displaying our content. We'll find new ways to take our stories to different people and people who need it and who want to hear it. We can be more targeted towards them. So when you start looking from that space, then you see more possibilities than any sort of dullness कि नहीं यार ये तो लोग नहीं सोच पाएंगे. They will think more. They will be competing with AI then. That is something, that is where the entire thing would be.
Okay, so quick question. If AI could resurrect any actor from the past, who would that be?
That's a tough question, and I'll tell you why that is tough. Because somehow the way I have not been a fan of many people. Like for me, I am very forgetful of names and certain things. I remember the emotions, however. So whatever answer I'll be giving you will be like
A
a
compromise.
fabricated answer where I'll be
Okay.
framing a name in my head and
Okay.
telling you about it. But yeah, I mean, if you ask story wise, then I can tell you. Like one story that I want to recreate using AI would be a movie called Big Fish.
Big Fish. Okay.
Yes. So Big Fish is about is a story of this dying storyteller, which he keeps calling himself, and his son. And his son's grievance always is that you have always told me about your life like a story, like there was a thunder and you jumped in. I want to know the real you. And the entire thing is in the dying moments of the father, where the son and the father are trying to figure out what the real story of the father was, because the father is still a stubborn man that is all real, and the son is trying to figure out
Who
what
he
is story or
was.
not. But if you watch it, you will actually kind of get that sense that Tim
you see
Burton.
both the worlds
Matlab
together.
it is one thing that I would want to create, because
Amazing.
it is a storyteller's story, and that is something which, and one of the very few things that I really want to remake altogether, and Big Fish is one of them.
Nice, nice. Okay. And which aspects of storytelling do you think AI right now at this stage struggles to accomplish?
So see, I mean, I'll just give you a broader sense. I mean, it might feel like it's not a direct answer, but it is a direct answer. If I give you 5 colors to pick from, what color you are going to pick will be a simpler choice. AI gives you a palette of 10,000. Now there are shades of blue ke andar, blue ke andar, blue. So then selecting that one color, and if that is that important, it will take you a lot of time. So how AI currently functioning is, it can do everything. People are seeing 4 colors of it. एंड इट बिकम्स वेरी इजी टू पिक कि भाई मेरे को थोड़ा पीरियड ड्रामा दे दे, तो वो एक येलोइश टिंट लगा के आपको एआई दे रहा है. मुझे थोड़ा ये चाहिए. सो द 4-5 थिंग्स दैट कम्स on top of your mind. So when you are using those 4-5, it might feel that AI is actually limiting, because ये तो सबको ही करने लगेंगे. However, when you start to look within those shades, you realize that working with AI is kind of a privilege in many ways, because if you can think deep enough, it can give you every shade altogether.
So if your prompt is that deep, then you will get what you
Before the prompt, I think you need to visualize when it comes to content creation. So the thing is, if I write a 2-line story, and the easier answer is कि मैंने 2 लाइन में लिखा कि ये 2 लोग बात कर रहे हैं, इनके बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होगा, ये लोग लड़ाई कर रहे हैं, इस पे स्टोरी बना के दो. AI won't be able to give it to you. At least not in a form that you would like.
वो अपनी इमेजिनेशन से
Correct. नहीं, और वो आपको सबसे बेसिक आंसर देगा, वो आपको सबसे लाइकेबल आंसर देगा, क्योंकि वो फीडबैक पे काम कर रहे हैं. तो वो आपको सबसे एक बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर देगा. आप पूरा का पूरा कहानी उसको लिख करके दो और उसको आप एनालाइज करने बोलो, आप उसमें उसको गलतियां ढूंढने बोलो. सो व्हाई आई डिड नॉट आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली वाज दैट AI, अगर आप उसको सही से नहीं यूज कर रहे तो वो हर एस्पेक्ट में स्ट्रगल करेगा.
अच्छा,
आपको अगर पता है कि आप क्या करना चाहते हो तो वो आपको उस हिसाब से चीज़ें करके देगा. हाउएवर, एक टॉप लाइन आंसर भी है इसका. कैरेक्टर कंसिस्टेंसी इज वन पर्टिकुलर थिंग जिससे पूरा वर्ल्ड स्ट्रगल कर रहा है, विच काइंड ऑफ नैनो बनाना राइट नाउ इज सॉल्विंग इन इट्स ओन वे.
ओके.
There is another AI called ideogram, in which you can train the character almost to a level where you can get that consistency. Lip sync was a problem, it still somewhere is. So अगर VO3 का ही मैं आपको बताऊं तो बहुत लोग हमें बोलते हैं कि हमारा वो लिप सिंक वैसा नहीं हो रहा है. द थिंग इज, आपको बस एक बेसिक समझना पड़ेगा कि जो मार्कर्स हैं, जो फेस को मूव कर रहे हैं या वो कर रहे हैं, वो आप कैमरा के जितने पास रहेगा उतने क्लियरली वो मार्कर्स बनते हैं, सो इमोशंस उतने ज़्यादा क्लीन होते हैं. सो द मोमेंट यू हैव अ वाइड शॉट, देयर आर चांसेस दैट द लिप सिंक इज ऑफ or the image is breaking. The moment you have a mid shot and closer to the camera shot, it will start becoming very flawless because it has more markers and emotions to play with altogether. So even these slight understandings, when you start to observe, and this is not an understanding जो कोई tutorial आपको देगा, when you are doing it and trying to ask yourself, why did this generation did not happen, why did it not give me the result I wanted, and when you ask those questions, you will start seeing a pattern, and then you will start finding answers. When you start finding answers is when you start to kind of think in the way what's possible for you and what's not.
While creating content, have you weighed in any kind of ethical considerations ever? कि कभी आपको लगा हो कि मैं एक specifically, ऐसा ना हो कि ये हमेशा ही मुझे एक इंडियन लड़की को एक सर्टेन तरीके में ही दिखाए. बिकॉज what I've seen is Indian women, as soon as you prompt to AI, वो एक थोड़ा dark skinned गर्ल दिखाएगा, या फिर एंड देन सिमिलरली डिफरेंट एथिकल कंसिडरेशंस. अगर आप CEO बोलो तो CEO यूजुअली एक मैन को दिखाते हैं. तो ऐसे कभी इस डायरेक्शन में कभी कोई थॉट गया है, या आप कभी फील करते हैं ऐसे कुछ?
This is exactly what I was talking about bias and debias.
Right.
So this is where AI is constantly debiasing itself also. इस bias का reason simple है कि जो भी engineers data feed कर रहे हैं वो अगर किसी particular region के हैं तो data is centric to that region. So as the AI is expanding over the world, ये debias धीरे धीरे ये होना शुरू हो जाएगा. In fact, I tell this to a lot of people who ask how to get proper result is that be racist. It might sound weird, but अगर मैं लिख रहा हूँ ना Mumbai girl in this particular place, or if I'm writing Nagaland women in this particular way, it helps you get closer to what you want. Because ये इसको अगर आप again, when you use that as quality, it is not racist.
Right.
When you use it to discriminate is when racism comes.
Correct,
but in simple words, all I can say is be racist about it. You talk about कि भाई जब
describe what you exactly want.
Exactly. So again, so जब आप especially जब आप face generations करते हो, go to the regions. So अभी we were doing a ad film for Bajaj Finserv. Now it required 3 different distinct characters. So now one character. So the thing is how we worked, because consistency a month back was a bigger problem than what it is right now. So how we worked around was that सबसे पहले तो there is this bald guy, there is clean shaved guy, and there is this beard guy. Again, where does it come from? From the animation background. Because when you are a cartoonist, you do not work on all the features together. You work on specifics. So the
yeah.
moment I have a dadi wala banda, a bald banda, and I have a character who is clean shaved, by default I have created a layer of consistency.
Correct.
Second layer that we tried with the character was that the guy is from Haryana, the bald guy. The clean shaved guy is from Mumbai, and the guy who has beard and ponytail is from Kerala. Now, this information comes from a fact that down south there is a certain facial structure.
Correct.
Mumbai is more youthful and the kind of the guy you want to be in the front. And initially we started with Haryana, it did not work. So the bald guy. Then we started prompting as someone from Andhra, and we could do this with Google because Google has that data set. I know, I am aware of that.
Right.
So we could not work on it with any other model.
Any
We
other
could only work
platform.
with Google because it had those smaller differentiations altogether in the character.
Right. Got it. Nice. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, we'll do a quick lightning round. I'll just shoot some questions, and if just give me one.
Just
word or
let me
two
know
word
about
answers.
brief answers. Right? Yeah.
So, AI Spielberg or AI Nolan?
Spielberg.
Short form reels or full length AI movies?
Currently, short form reels.
But would you want?
I
to
would definitely
eventually?
want AI film to be a thing. And currently we'll make it a thing. It will be a hybrid production though. Actors, the model we are working on, we are working with real actors translated into the AI world. So that is the first thing that will hit the market in a proper way. And then probably 100% AI filmmaking will take some time.
Okay, so for visual storytelling, ChatGPT versus Midjourney versus Kling versus Google VO.
For fantasy stories, Mid-Journey any day. World building stories. For anything natural, normal, day-to-day kind of stories, drama-based stories, Google.
Okay.
So Google and Mid-Journey we both use equally, but they have their use cases.
Okay, lovely. Hollywood or Bollywood, who will adopt AI faster?
In the right way,
Okay, I know the answer before you could
yes,
say.
in the right way, probably Hollywood. We still need to think a little bigger than just the box office. I personally feel as filmmakers. As producers, I understand their dilemma. They are putting the money. But I think as filmmakers also, we are too concerned about kya chalega, kya nahi chalega to create anything normal. We are so scared that we don't create.
What about Tollywood?
Maybe.
Considering they have been one of the best
Maybe,
adopters
but
of VFX.
again, see the formula idea of formulas is something that kind of makes me feel that वो for AI का formula बनने में time लगेगा. South also works on formula movies and Bollywood also work on formula movies. So any industry that's not working on formula movies, Malayalam industry is one industry which is not working on formula based movies. I think Malayalam industry within India, Malayalam industry will pick this up faster.
So you're saying
I'm
any industry which can
assuming.
think out of the box and
Anyone,
prefer art over commercial success.
Again, it's not about art alone. It's very easy to say that I'll make an art film which does not make money. It's also about giving it a thought that why am I doing something?
Breaking
That
the mold.
particular thing is the only nemesis of Bollywood right now. That thought, instead of thinking कि ये कहाँ कहाँ चल जाएगा, किसको किसको साथ डालेंगे तो कितना box office हो जाएगा, it's not a project. The moment any industry that's not making a project, instead making a film, will kind of adopt this very quick.
Any AI output that made you laugh out loud?
Many. Yesterday we were generating sketch images of Jaunty Road. So there's a client of ours whose brand ambassador is Jaunty Roads. So we were generating that, and he was supposed to dive and take a catch. And for the love of God, AI can't get a cricket ball right. So
Oh my god.
yes, so that was yesterday. I pretty much laughed all day because it took 20 generations to get that 1 5-second shot. Even now it's not perfect. The client is not very happy. So
Okay. What do you do about the whole, because tokens are usually limited, or even if you, I mean, I don't know, unlimited tokens wala scene.
There is
abhi
no
hai ki nahi?
unlimited
There's
credits
no unlimited
anywhere.
credits
There is
anywhere.
a way to do it. There are offline model runners. So when you hear a open source model, it can be run on something like a Comfy UI or a Pinocchio altogether. However, a lot of good models even there are paid. But there are certain models like Van 2.2 is there, which is a decent model. ByteDance has C-Dance altogether, which is a decent model. Now, these models you can try to run for free. Also, there are aggregators that you look for. So, instead of going to Kling directly, try to go to a Envato or try to go to a FreePic that is offering you multiple models. So, what
Right.
these platforms do is they have these weekly sort of like giveaways of sorts. Ki Van is free for a week. This right now the Google Banana is free for a week. So that is how we work around. But when it comes to projects, we generally use the best models. So it has its own cost, but not as costly as shooting that film. So again, that's one benefit we have.
Perfect, perfect. Any future vision that you have that you'd like to bring to life with AI?
A lot of it. Honestly, like it was a college dream that you can have this entire live island of theater artists performing, and you have these vacations there. But the thing is, it was not feasible or possible in a practical world. But it is practical now. Like when Pokemon Go came and it turned your entire world around you into a live Pokemon catching sort of thing, we can do that with stories. There will be so many modes to tell story upon, and it will be so intrusive to every individual that I personally feel very optimistic to a future where if you keep an open mind, it will be an era of inventions altogether, inventing different mediums to say, and that excites me a lot.
Right.
So what we are doing, definitely we would be able to do it better. There is no doubt about it that we already are. But what can happen is a space of invention. It's a space of discovery. So that space by default kind of makes me feel very optimistic about the world.
Amazing, great. Thank you so much for taking out the time, Priyarth, and for being on
Most
this show.
welcome.
It was a pleasure to host you, and there were so many key takeaways from this conversation that I take back, and I hope that the viewers also benefit from.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think, again, the questions were so well layered altogether that I felt like I could express even more than this, maybe.
Great, great.
But
So
it
good
was
to hear.
lovely being here and lovely talking to you altogether.